What's up, y'all?
What's good, y'all?
Yeah, man, we made it. We're like super excited. We're here and we're happy that you're here. Welcome to the Bryants Live podcast, where we're going to be real, relevant, and revelatory. One of the revelations that we have concerning kingdom and church culture,
Yeah.
is that there's a system in place. Just to get to it, hi. Let's get to it. The reality that while we are building, souls are being lost and not managed and or taken care of. And so as we looked at the scope of things, the way things are moving, the Lord allowed me to equate it to the NFL. And so if you notice this particular episode, if you will, it's called Draft Pick. And so we wanted to just go over, talk with you, have you be a part of our conversation about how it's not really healthy out here in these church streets, and offer solution. This will be solution based. So with that being said, right, let's bring you in deeper to that revelation, right? So like I said, the NFL, the church, pastors, or those who lead a flock are now operating as CEOs, and those with gifts that are either worshiping or leading in some type of capacity are the Ray Lewis's, the RJs, or whatever the case may be, right? The Jayden Gordons, whatever have you, right? What's up? So, with that being said, the dynamic of that is you're on that field, and although speaking of the NFL, although we are openly saying we care about you, we have some stuff in place paper wise that say we have to take care of you. We're only taking care of you enough to get the job done. Right. So we're going to make sure your feet okay. We're going to make sure we crack your arms and all of that. We're going to make sure you have your medicines and stuff. We're going to put everything back in line because you got to get back out there. And once you retire, well, good luck. You were supposed to take care of yourself. We took care of you all this way. Now take care of yourself after the fact. And what we're seeing now is those that are either still on the field or on their way out or building family or just transitioning in a certain way where it's not just about church. It's not just about the organization and its goals, are starting to show their suffering, right? Like there's individuals that they're going through it, but they have found a way to cover their hurt, their pain, their go through. And we've been blessed to have eyes that the Lord has given us to see, hey, wait, no, you're actually hurting. Yeah. You're actually hurting. And so what type of conversations, not necessarily because once you chop it up with us, that's it, but around it, of course, right? What have you seen? What have you experienced as it pertains to the damage that can be done when a pastor no longer shepherds, but he just organizes?
Yeah, for sure. Like when you're gifted and you're good at what you do, anybody in their right mind will want you to be a part of their team. It's just a given. And so the thing, though, the difference in church is sometimes as a gifted person, you're going in thinking automatically that you're going to get the pastor and the check. Right? And you have to know expectations up front. You have to be realistic about what the situation is, what the contract says. First and foremost, if you're getting paid at a ministry, you're an employee. You're a contractor. So the expectation of expecting them to automatically pastor you as a person that's just attending or a member may not be the best thought to have going in the door unless it's expressed that you desire that from the pastor. And so with understanding that you're gifted and you're coming into the door and you're getting paid, you have to know that and assess whether this is the place I'm going to worship and have a job at, or is this just a place I'm going to be contracted to work? Yeah. Like you can have both. I believe there are pastors out here who have the grace to do both, pastor and pay you, right? Shepherd and manage you
That's a shame.
in a sense.
Pastor and pay me.
Yeah. Pastor and pay you, like, seriously, and will honor both and won't just be so focused on you doing what they contracted you to do, but also about your soul. I do believe that. However, there are many who are suffering in silence because they need the money. They need to take care of their families, but their souls are depleted. Their hearts are depleted. They're drained. But because they're gifted and skilled, you have to show up every day. This is your job. And so I think it's very important that to know your worth, to know that you're valuable, yes, but to also have clear and honest expectations walking into the door if you choose to make ministry your full-time gig, especially in music, right? Making sure that you know, like, I can serve here, but I also can eat here too. Like, I can work here and also can eat here too. And I think there's this, I want to say that there's not clarity on what it means to serve and work here. Like, what's the difference between serving here and being an employee here? Like, I don't think.
I mean, it's going to be different for every church, but we're just going based upon the word and specifically church culture. The serving is, I mean, I just had this revelation. Yeah. But even waitresses and waiters get tips. A servant is still blessed. You're right. Like, so no, I mean, although church has made it seem as if though, if you serve, then just be happy that you blessing the Lord and his church. And if we pay you, then that's your pay. And then that's it. And but what you're discussing and what overall we're driving to is that both parties need to take responsibility. As a pastor, I need to recognize I need to break this thing. And I need to start to give you financial assistance as it pertains to not just the coin, but like understanding that, like, hey, the church wasn't also built to make sure you take care of your family. That wasn't its original intent. Now that we have these mega churches, it happens and it can happen. But once again, expectation being realistic. If indeed this is not happening, right? You're here, they are paying you, but it's not enough to take care of your family. You don't leave where you're eating and getting paid to just then go get paid. So it's several dynamics here. Maybe you need to get a regular job.
Yeah, that's true. Just being able to decipher, like, listen, do I need to get a regular job or do I need to continue?
Right, because my soul should prosper too.
Yeah, that's true.
My family, as a husband, my family needs me to be the best I can be, and that's not just my finances. Although culturally they say, hey, it's a list of things that men have to do to be a man, and one of them is bring home the quote unquote bacon. But in the process, when I'm bringing home the bacon, now I have diabetes, I'm stressed out, I'm toe up, and sadly, culturally speaking, now we get into the abusive stuff and all of that. Why? Because the whole man is not tended to. And so, yes, let's pay him what we can that makes sense to make sure we can still run this. But in the meantime, we are sending those who are older to come and to assess your finances, help you get a job, other resources, because you can get paid via other ways other than your account getting hit with digital dollars. Pastor. Now, minister, you need to understand the importance of your soul prospering as well as your coin. And understand that maybe it might be a season where you can't get it the way you want, but you can get it. You know what I mean? But because we see other people culturally, they're making it, and we want to be the guy who plays for such and such, and we want to be like, where if we're just talking about responsibilities and dynamics, both parties need to get it together. You know what I mean? The leader needs to recognize, hey, this person matters beyond what they can do for me. Like, I need to kill because a CEO, right? If I'm a CEO, my whole structure is set up around me. I can do that. That's business. I can be the face of it and all of that. But in the kingdom of God, the face, first of all, there's no image. But if we're going to put an image to it, it should be Christ. So that's one thing that we got going on, where it's about a person. So of course, the persons who are playing, who are on the field, who are running, we're doing it for that person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Even like we're minimizing ourselves to make sure you win so we can get paid. We're code switching. We are, which is a whole nother thing, whole nother podcast. But we're switching it up where, I mean, overall, to me, if I'm, okay, let me ask you a question. Has there ever been a moment where you was like, all right, yo, I'm actually really good money wise, and still wasn't fulfilled? That it felt like you needed something else to do something else. It's something
Yeah,
else.
I mean, honestly, you can get to the point where you're making money, you have money, but I think the biggest thing is purpose.
Right.
Like, to just be making money absent of having purpose, it can really be heavy.
Yeah.
It can get heavy only because you realize that there's a redundancy here. There's a cycle, a pattern that's happening. I'm waking up, I'm going to work. I'm waking up, I'm going to work. There's no purpose that's happening that's driving your or fueling you to get up in the morning. You're just trying to make money. So I totally understand. If you have decided to make ministry your job, that's what's up. But you have to know that if the place you are contracted to be at is your job, you can expect that first and foremost, they're going to treat you like an employee, period. Secondly, you want to make sure that when you walk in the door, that again, you have expectations clear. In the event that this is just your job, make sure you have a pastor or someone who can pour into you spiritually, who's going to be able to have conversations with you, who's going to be able to tend to your soul, because ultimately kingdom is about the soul, right? It's about the heart. It's about the internal parts of you aligning with the will of God, not just your gifts and talents making room for you to prosper financially in the earth. And so it's both and. If you're going to do it, maybe it's not both and, but if you're going to make ministry your full-time job, okay, we understand. If you go to work for any other place, corporation, they don't care if you're sick. They don't care about how your day went before you walked in. They just want you to perform this job. Same difference. If the ministry you're at, if that's your job, you can walk in with the expectation that in order for me to get paid, I have to do this job. But if you are realizing that, man, my soul, like I'm drained, I'm walking away spiritually drained, I don't have anywhere to really be poured into, then you have to make time for you to go and have self-care days like you would at a regular job, like your mental health days. So maybe that looks like you having a pastor, someone who's covering you. And I know that's a whole conversation right now. You don't need covering. You don't need covering. The truth is, whether it's a mentor, a pastor, whatever the case may be, there should always be someone that you're accountable to. That's just point blank and period. You know, it's not about a covering thing. It's about understanding that every pastor needs a pastor. Every person in some type of capacity of leadership needs someone that they can be accountable to, period. Samuel was a one who was using the Bible to hold people accountable. Right? And he also had someone to hold him accountable. So there's always someone that you need to be to have in your corner. And so just getting money, using your gifts in ministry, we're talking about ministry specifically, but absent of tending to your soul as well, taking those self-care conversations, taking a Sunday off to go to your place of covering, and getting fed. That's what you have to do. It's a have to thing. It's not maybe I will do, because the reality is at your job and ministry, you're leading people into the presence of the Lord. You're preaching people into a place of understanding and knowledge. At least you should be. And so there takes a level of you tending to your soul. So that way, when you get up to do your job to minister to those people, you are able to do it in a pure way, and you're truly able to lead them to Christ, and you're not so depleted that you aren't truly and fully able to do it with all that you have. Because if you take on a job, my hopes is that you have a desire and a purpose behind what you're doing. And so you desire to give your all. But imagine if you really did take time and had someone you could talk to outside of your work hours, whether that's being a Sunday, right? Or Saturday, to do ministry. Imagine if you had someone to talk to who was actually covering you, mentoring you, speaking life into you. You're able to dissect the scriptures with. You're able to sit down in a Bible study with someone you respect, someone you honor, right? Who can pour into you. Imagine how your job in ministry would be top tier. And you would actually feel better doing it. Because now you're in a space where I'm not just making money, but I'm also allowing myself to be fed as well.
Yeah. And I want to offer you, because maybe you feel like everything's going well, so this is not for me. There are symptoms to pouring without refill. You find yourself sadder than normal. Like it's easier for you to just be triggered. You find yourself vulnerable. You find yourself even physically. There's some aches, some pains. You're more headache prone. That's the, like physical stuff. And then you have in the spirit, whereas though certain stuff just can't get complete. You find yourself wandering. You feel like just going about things. Nothing's really happening. You feel like you're on a flat plane. You're not excelling. You're not allowing yourself to be exposed to fresh things. It's a repeating thing. You are the hamster on the wheel. You feel like what are some other things? You might feel sick, like really seriously. And I feel like I'm supposed to be saying it. Like some of us are not just, it's not a seasonal thing. We have to sometimes equate that something happened in the spirit before it transpires into the physical realm. And so me personally, I've experienced being sick, like and I'm talking about going from pulpit to bed. A brief conversation and a fever found me. And that's because I wasn't covered. Noah did a major work. You are doing a major work. And although you might not have the mic, you might not be, you're making an impact, especially when you care, especially if you're talking about listening to the Father as you're hitting the keys, listening to the Father as you're strumming the strings, or whatever, listening to you're in those with intentionality. That's not just like, I'm just doing my thing because I'm actually good at it. I'm talking about you who care. You're going to experience attack. The thing with Noah is he was naked. He was exposed. We're all going to have moments where we're going to be vulnerable. Wow. We're going to be vulnerable. And it's not fair that, like, we can't save them all, right? We can't change all of them. But it's not fair that those who will not change, that are CEO mindsets, are just trying to get it done. They're trying to meet quota. They're trying to, you know what I mean? They got stuff they got to answer to. They have people they got to answer to. They sit under a system that's under a system that's, if you go deeper into these churches, you realize, yeah, you got your own name, but someone, you know what I mean? Someone you got to answer to. So they're trying to fulfill their responsibilities and you are just a part of it. And meanwhile, you're putting yourself out there, you're putting your gift out there, you're putting your oil out there, you are physically sweating on a stage, and you're telling me no one's going to come and say, be restored. Hey, after everything that was said on that pulpit, how do you feel? Chances are you don't care because the person that's up there ain't saying nothing to help you. You know what I mean? Because they're not actually called to you. They're just a resource right now. So if that's the case, right? Like, I don't expect for you to get a prophetic word from your boss. Like, you know what I mean? I get it. Like, I get it. But if you can't, like the woman of God was saying, you need to find somewhere where, hey, I am naked. I'm experiencing vulnerability. I feel sore. I feel like something's missing. I don't know why I don't feel satisfied. Although the account looks great, I'm wearing Fear of God. I got the new Yeezys. I got a great relationship. I just met somebody because this church is huge. There's tons of women, but I just still feel like I'm something's not changing. Like I still want to get high. I still find myself depressed. Because there's no one saying, hey, there's another part of your world that you're not privy to. When you're hitting those drums, you hear a sound in the physical realm, but there's something happening in the spirit. Covering says, I can see the spirit for you. And these are some things that are taking place. Chances are you're depressed and trying to numb some stuff that got to do with stuff that don't got nothing to do with church. So that's why you get high right after a service, because you just walked out and did not feel fulfilled. Although everybody on this altar crying, you feel nothing. Yo, you need covering. And I want to apologize because you've been sitting around individuals who love Jesus, but ain't showing a lot of intentional, prophetic, apostolic love to you. Yeah. They just organize you, pay you, hit you with a fee if you're late. And until you, God bless you, because they feel like they've done all they were supposed to. But here's the thing, like we're saying, you're still responsible. You're still responsible. And to pastors, man, listen, I think we need to do a check. I think we need to start sitting down with our leaders and saying, hey, are we actually okay? Or are y'all just showing face because y'all want platform?
But even in the corporate world, I realized that because I work with different contracts in different businesses, and I realized sitting in these executive meetings that CEOs are starting to realize that they have to take time. They have to. Yeah. You can't just be a workhorse for somebody.
That's good.
And they don't, nowadays there's a sensitivity, even if they don't equate it to the Spirit of God, right? But there is a sensitivity that are allowing CEOs to see that they need to make time, or at least allow time for self-care days, or time to have one-on-ones to speak on how are you doing? How can I help you do the best in your job? And still be professional about it, right? Still be honest about where you are, but keeping it professional as well. But if the earth is sensitive to the fact that its employees need days off, it needs to count in 6 days, it needs to count in PTO days, it needs to count in time to be taken off, then that should also be considered. If you're going to form your ministry to function that way and contract and employee and hire, those things should be considered as well. And the biggest thing is that separates it from corporate, the world system, is that when you're doing a kingdom work, you'll always have the heart of God leading and guiding you in it. And so he won't just give you strategy on how to make money, but he'll also give you strategy on how to keep the people that's helping you make the money, how to steward the people that's helping you make the money. It makes no sense for you to have sheep and all they do is create wool for you, but they're unhealthy, they're malnourished, they are not able to feed on good land because you haven't tended to the soil. So you have to take the same approach when you are leading the people, not just because it's your business, but because it's ministry. Yeah. At the end of the day, it's ministry. No matter why you're there, even if you all can agree, this is our job, we're just gathering because we got to do this collective work for this one vision. That's what's up. But at the end of the day, you're still representing heaven. You're still representing Christ. And so in order to truly exude that, not just to the people attending, but even to your team, there has to be a heart to say, yo, you're depleted. Go take vacation. Yo, you need some time to yourself. Go take vacation, because not only am I dependent on my draft pick, my 5 stars, but I also have them training up a second, so that way when you get tired, they can step in for you and you can go take a break. And that's the thing. So we have to make sure that we aren't allowing this church culture, because that's what we're speaking to, church culture versus Christ's kingdom, and understanding that with church culture, we tend to use gifts up and then kick you out once you mess up. Make one mistake, you're done. But we love that gift, or we love that gift so much we don't even care what you're doing to destroy yourself.
Right.
We'll just let you keep moving. And kingdom,
Works.
exactly. And then kingdom says, listen, I understand that you're gifted, but I'm more so concerned about your soul. Yeah. So let's have a conversation about how we can continue to grow together and push this vision forward for Christ's kingdom, not just my own endeavors. So that way we can make sure we're all being healthy, that you first and foremost are being healthy in what you're doing. There has to be a consideration in all things.